What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Post-Gazette Pirates YouTube channel. He's Andrew Destin. I'm Noah Hiles. Pirates fall on Sunday to the Detroit Tigers here at Lecom Park. We have your three takeaways. Andrew, as always, I'll let you get started.
Yeah, we'll get started with the starter. Jared Jones gets the nod today, his second start of spring training. It was a bit of an abbreviated one, 44 pitches, didn't quite get through 3 innings because of pitch count, according to manager Derek Shelton. It was a little bit different than the first spring training start. For that first one, it was all about the two-seam fastball that he had incorporated and how exactly that looked. It looked really good in that first start. Today was kind of going deeper in the arsenal. I don't know, what do you think of, we saw some pitches like the curveball and the changeup used a lot more this time than the first time around.
Yeah, and at first I thought they made a point to do that. Like that was a part of their game plan, but as we found out, that was kind of an audible from Henry Davis, just something that he thought would allow Jared to get an advantage over those batters. And that's what they should be doing now. You should be a little bit aggressive when it comes to working those new pitches in situations like this, because it doesn't necessarily matter the result right now. Obviously, you hope to see strikes, you hope to see outs, but this is the time to battle through it. I like that idea, and I think that is something the Pirates should continue to do with all of their pitchers for the remainder of spring.
Yeah, I was particularly impressed, too, by the changeup. That was something to highlight.
Yes, the changeup got a lot of good outs.
Yeah, and I think it's important because it dovetails off the conversation of the two-seam fastball because it's such a similar pitch shape.
Yes.
It looks identical almost out of the hand with the way that it goes in on righties and goes away to lefties. That's noteworthy because if you got a team that all of a sudden is all prepared for Jared Jones' new two-seam fastball, well, you might catch them out in front a whole bunch on the changeup. So I agree with you. It's something to keep doing throughout spring training, but I think there's more to this conversation of Jones evolving as a pitcher than just, hey, he's added a third pitch. I think it could enhance the whole repertoire.
Yeah, and I think another thing that needs to be pointed out was what Derek Shelton pointed out after the game. Jared Jones did not start this game well. It was a leadoff double, then I believe he threw 9 straight balls to load the bases and fall behind in a count with the bases loaded and no outs.
Yeah.
And he said that Jones showed a little bit of maturity here, and I'd have to agree with them. In recent years, last year most notably, this was a guy who probably would have overcompensated. He would have tried to throw the ball a little too hard. He would have amped up and maybe got out of his game.
Yep.
This guy buckled down and stayed who he was. He allowed his first run ever in spring training today, so we witnessed history.
Right.
But he got out of the jam only allowing 1 run, and I thought he pitched well after that, so I think that's something the Pirates should feel encouraged with, that Jared's able to kind of compose himself when things aren't necessarily going his way.
Right, and it takes 2 to tango, and I think it's a good segue into our number 2 guy,
Yes.
which is Henry Davis, who continues to look solid behind the plate. That's not really a talking point or conversation of any kind anymore, which last year was the whole conversation with Henry.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's all about the hitting side, and puts a charge into one, hits a home run, but I don't know, I think he's kind of quietly flying under the radar as a guy who maybe we don't need to talk about ad nauseum, but he looks the part of a guy who belongs in camp, belongs to be at this level, and looks solid right now.
He does, and I think when talking about Henry, especially on the defensive side, it's impressive to me how much trust he has built within this staff. Despite being a younger guy, veterans trust him, and the young guys, the guys who have played with him up through the minor leagues and kind of were in his draft class or around that time, they really trust him. And it seems like that part of his game, which was always a concern, as you mentioned, is something he really has down pat. And the offense is looking good too, Andrew. Like you said, he parked one out in those left field bleachers over there. He's been hitting the ball to all fields this spring. We've seen this before in spring, and we need to see it in the regular season. But he's had about as good of a early showing in spring as I think he could have.
Yeah, it's about all you could ask for from the guy. He's not vying to be the number 1 catcher. That's Joey Bart's job for the time being. Maybe that lack of pressure, or at least reduced pressure, maybe it's benefiting Henry Davis in some regard, at least from our interactions with him. He seems to be in a positive, cheery mood. That's his demeanor on the regular. So by all indications, the on-field results looking good so far, but a guy who finally benefited from some good on-field results, he was probably a little bit overdue for that, was Derek Hall. First hit and first homer of the spring today.
Yes, and I mean, the first base battle, I feel like we talk about it every day, as we should. It's the main story surrounding this team right now as far as position battles go. And Derek Hall is a guy who's got a lot of opportunities. I think he's probably earned more starts at first than anyone else, just thinking about it off the top of my head. And, he didn't want to fall behind in this. You've got other guys who are standing out, Gorski, had a really good week. DJ Stewart's been consistent. Triolo obviously provides things defensively. Nick York is a guy the org thinks highly of. If you're Derek Hall, obviously you don't want to overreact in a short sample, but you also don't want to fall behind the 8 ball and fall out of priority.
Right.
And a home run today allows him to stay in that conversation, stay in the mix.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just an example of, hey, when he puts a charge into one, what the guy's capable of. He's hit a bunch of homers in the minor leagues, 160, I believe, in total.
Yeah.
It's in there. It's just about doing it more regularly, getting off the schneid and just parking one, finally getting the offer off of the score sheet. I'm sure that he'll gladly take that. But a noteworthy game for Derek Hall on the first base competition, which we'll obviously keep tabs on all spring.
Absolutely. He's Andrew Destin. I'm Noah Hiles. You can check out our work at post-gazette.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel at PG Pirates.